It'll be untimed from the 14. Barker fires. Cornelius! Bountiful wins! Brooks Cornelius pulls it in, and it's pandemonium at Bountiful. Welcome in Deseret News Rewind. Dusty Litster and Dane Stewart, as always. Presented by Heidemann & Associates, brought to you by the Utah Army National Guard, and outfitted by Black Clover.
Yeah, that's right, Dusty. And just a reminder, Black Clover, they've got a full line of men's gear, ladies' gear. You can see the whole lineup on blackcloverusa.com. You can also check out their store just off 123rd South in Draper next to the water park. You can feel it, try it on, make sure it's going to fit you. I couldn't recommend them any more highly. We're looking good. Yeah. Thanks to Black Clover, you will too. Find out more at blackcloverusa.com.
I know you've mentioned it. Weather's changing.
Yeah.
You get some more layers and want to look good doing it. New stuff coming out, blackcloverusa.com. Well, we're here at Bountiful High School, our first time here at Bountiful High, and there's a reason why. The Lakers, Dane talked about them at the beginning of the year, playing really, really well, but we're going to get to them a little bit later. But as we get started, let's go to our opening statement brought to you by Heidemann & Associates. If you got any law needs whatsoever, you need to set up a business, it's getting to be in toward the end of the year, and you just want to make sure you have stuff set up right, or you have something that happened, and you just need help, go to Heidemann & Associates, www.utah.law, and let Justin help you. He helps us.
Yeah.
And he's there to work with you as well. Let's go through this. It's September 12th, and this weekend games are played on September 11th, and that's always a time in our country. We think back 19 years. It's amazing to think it was 19 years ago, September 11th.
Yeah, I was, thinking about this all day yesterday. I was actually out living out east. I was living in Pennsylvania at the time, and was not far from where the plane went down in Shanksville, and the people that I met with at that point and shortly thereafter, a lot of them had family, friends, relatives, associates, colleagues that were affected directly by the events of 9/11. It's something that, obviously brings back a lot of memories to me, the experiences, the emotions that I felt at that time. And, I look at our society today, I feel like there's a lot of distraction out there, and a lot of people that, we have a lot of discord in our society. And it felt like for a moment, for me at least, being out in Pennsylvania at that time, it was a moment of unity. It was a moment for people to come together. I know a video that gets shared every year is George W. going out to, throw that first pitch at Yankee Stadium a couple days after the events. And you watch that and you see the emotion, you see the feelings, you see the unity that was in that stadium, the unity that was in that country at that time. And, to me, it's a great reminder of how strong we can be as a community, as a state, as a nation when we decide to come together. And hopefully, we can take current events and remember September 11th and what that means, those who gave up their lives and sacrificed. There were a lot of people that woke up that morning thinking it was a usual day, and their lives changed forever. So never take a moment for granted, and let's see how we can all learn from that and come together and be a little more unified in our society.
Yeah, amazing, because I was a high school senior that year. I tweeted this. We were getting ready for our homecoming game, and woke up on that Tuesday morning, and the whole world had changed for us. And I remember waiting to find out if we were going to play, and Governor Levitt came out and said the only thing happening on Friday night in Utah is high school football, and we were at our bonfire thinking we might not play, and it's like, let's roll, let's do this. And it was it was a great time, but you mentioned the unity that came from it. It was that moment just reminding how fragile life is, but not that, it is how brave some people are. We have a lot of things going on, and there's always change that needs to be taking place. But remember those men and women that put themselves in harm's way, if it's on our soil, if it's even doing things in other countries and helping other countries, protecting our freedoms here in the United States, is something to remember. But those men and women that go into our communities and that help keep us safe, that keep structured, keep safety so that we can prosper. September 11th, to me, it always becomes part of that. Those are men and women that ran into those buildings. Yeah. Everyone else is running away. They were running in, and it's a moment to remember really what's precious in this life.
I have a patch on my desk, Dusty, and it's something I refer to almost on a daily basis these days, and it's a picture of a firefighter, and it says, "I run into the fire." And you think about the people that gave their lives on September 11th, in the air as well as on the ground, and the things they were trying to do to help those around them and make sacrifices of their own selves for a greater cause. And a great opportunity for us to think back on that and to try to learn from that and be a little more like them.
Yeah, a little stability and civility will go a long way, and I always think about that. But certainly want to thank those servicemen and women for all that they do, and those frontline people all as well. Just amazing. And of course, when we are brought to you by the Utah Army National Guard, it means something to us to be able to talk about those men and women that do that. And we'll get to Utah Army National Guard just a little bit later. But want to thank those men and women who watch this show, who are serving us in our communities and in our country. We thank you and appreciate all that you do. All right, let's get to some football, shall we? Let's get to our game of the week. Dane, you were there, Lone Peak and Orem.
Yeah, big time game, Dusty. And the Orem Tigers, they've got a couple weeks of byes coming up, so this was kind of a last hurrah, close out their non-region schedule and heading to the road to take on Lone Peak. And I know you had mentioned, hey, we're going to learn a little bit about this Lone Peak offense, Dusty. They're 4-0. They were averaging over 40 points a game, but some defenses that have struggled over the course of the year. And both coaches talked about how key the line of scrimmage was going to be in this ball game. And I mean, they didn't waste any time. Lone Peak got the ball, first play from the line of scrimmage, and whoop, right over the top. How about that? As it's McChesney getting behind the coverage, and even though he's wearing a number that Dusty wishes he wouldn't.
Mark Duper wore it, but I guess it's good enough.
80 yards, and Lone Peak on the board at 7 apiece. They would try a field goal later in the first quarter, miss it. We're still 7-0 Lone Peak. Second quarter, and how about this? This Lone Peak defense has been so stout. And talking with Coach Brockbank, I joked on the stream. He talked about how the starters have been great. He worries a little bit about his second unit because they've given up some big plays. This might be the first big play the starters have given up. How about this throw from the freshman, Lance Reynolds III, to Saad Chisholm over the top. Saad Chisholm gets this inside the red zone. A couple plays later, Reynolds to Toya Vow, and we're tied up at 7 apiece early on in the second quarter. Lone Peak, they would march down the field. Durfee from 5 yards out retakes the lead for the Knights. And then how about this? Reynolds, trying to get the offense going, had played a clean game, ends up throwing an interception, sets up a short field, and it's Romney to Covey. The lead now 21-7 for Lone Peak. A pivotal play coming. We talked about Reynolds getting the start at quarterback. We'll talk about that a little bit more here in just a bit. But you see the hit from behind. Reynolds goes down, ends up being a critical play as Orem would just take a knee and head to the locker room. Second half, and we would not see Reynolds. I know I called Reynolds. I couldn't tell the numbers. That's on me. Did not see him in the second half. They were down to their fourth-string quarterback in the second half against Lone Peak, trailing by 14 at the break. Lone Peak would add a 44-yard field goal in the third quarter to make it 24-7. That would be our final score, Dusty, as the Lone Peak Knights, that defense, continued to shine. They gave up the one big play, led to the touchdown. That's 3 straight weeks now where they've given up a touchdown. Right? A little shaky in Lone Peak defense. I'm kidding. But that defense continued to shine, got a lot of pressure, did a great job in the secondary, limiting that passing attack. The running game never really got going for Orem. And we talked about Lance Reynolds III, the freshman, getting the start. That's because Faya was suspended. Tua Tagovailoa was hurt, so they were down to their third-string quarterback to start. He gets hurt on their fourth string. That's certainly going to affect things. We talk about the byes for Orem coming up. Those will be pivotal for them to get back healthy, get that roster going again. Had a couple other players get dinged up last night. Nothing looked too severe. But for Orem, they got their region schedule coming up, right? You've got Timpview, big game coming up, Mountain Ridge, Lehigh. Got to close this thing out. They'll have a couple weeks to get healthy before going through the gauntlet. But to me, we really learned how good that Lone Peak defense is, and that Lone Peak offense, at times they were able to move the football. They shot themselves in the foot a little bit, but I think they're going to be okay in Region 4. I don't know. We didn't see 40 points, but 24 is pretty good effort against that Orem D.
Oh, that Orem defense is legit. I mean, Jaden Ayu and others. But I love the biggest little guy in the state, Mr. Frank. I joked on the show, Deseret News Rewind Live, that don't worry, folks, his parents know he's on the field. It's okay. I love watching that guy. If it weren't for a couple of penalties, he would have had, you said on the stream, 140 yards of punt returns?
Yeah, and a touchdown. Yeah. All taken away, penalties. Really hurting him on the stat sheet. You want to talk about bad breaks, just look at number 39 for Lone Peak.
Yeah, absolutely. The numbers, we can get those sorted out over the years, I'm sure of it. But, all right, let's get to the best of 6A. I'll start first since you've got to go through your game. How about this one? Just because it's a game you're supposed to win doesn't mean you're going to win, and it doesn't mean it's going to come easy. Yeah. PG up 21-9 on Lehigh. Now, Lehigh, we've mentioned the last 2 weeks, we got to see him on Deseret News Rewind. They've started to play better. Yeah. But Creighton Cooper and company come back and take the lead 22-21, get the ball back, go down, and score again, go up 29-21 late in the fourth quarter. And then with 40 seconds left, it was a touchdown pass, Sam Levitt to Darius Clemens from 40 yards out, from 40 yards out. And then they go for two. They don't throw it. We run it, especially when you got Connors and Connors gets in the end zone for the 2-point conversion, tying the game at 29, go into overtime, and Cooper's pass goes a little long in the end zone, picked off, sets up this. Connors had gotten hurt on the play before this, got into the 1-inch line, and it's Tautioli getting in end zone, and PG coming from behind in fantastic fashion in overtime to knock off Lehigh 35-29.
I know Pioneer's going to be disappointed. That's something you can build on, though. I mean, we talk
Absolutely.
about how good PG is, Region 4. They're in that game, have a lead late.
And PG should be in the mix. They got Corner Canyon this week, but the last time they played a Region 4 team, it didn't go that way. And you see Coach Larson. He's starting to figure it out. That team's starting to figure it out as well.
Starting to come together, Pepper.
Yeah, absolutely.
My best of 6A. Hey, this was a game that we picked. We picked it a little differently, and boy, it was a doozy, Dusty. But it was kind of one-sided at 2 different points. West and West Jordan, and 2 teams that we talked about are probably the 2 best teams to compete with Kearns for that Region 2. I don't know if anyone competes with Kearns. We'll talk about that later. But how about West? They go up 7-0 first quarter. Second quarter, a 21-7 second quarter advantage. Had an interception, a pick 6 return that really helped kind of create the separation. It's 31-7.5. Looks like the Panthers going to run over West Jordan. These Jaguars, they are resilient. What a second half from this unit for West Jordan is they come out. Farmer had 2 rushing touchdowns, a passing touchdown. They had a squib kick that they recovered. They had another onside. It looked like they might have recovered it. They didn't, but they just kind of whittle away at this second half. They get to within 3, onside it. They actually recovered the football, Dusty. They had an opportunity to go drive and win this ball game. A penalty ended up stalling in a little bit, and the West Panthers able to hold on by the claws of the paws, 38-35. West with an impressive win. The Panthers, Dusty, you ready for a fun fact?
I love fun facts.
They're 4-1. You want to know the last time West was 4-1?
1993.
You're close. 1996. They went 4-1. 24 years. Coach Solovey has this program trending in the right direction.
Yeah, Clarence Bird Butler.
Another big night.
Yeah, he's the new Tana Afiaki. You didn't think I'd remember that, would you? 2009. That's a good one. Coach Solovey's got that thing moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
How about this one? I was there for this one. Woods Cross and Bountiful, because of the windstorm. This game is supposed to be played on Thursday night. Because the windstorm knocked the lights tower down on the field. Coaches and schools decided they pushed the game back a day, and we had the opportunity to pick this game up as we were doing those home games for both of those schools. And this game was about Sione Mamata. Sione Mamata had a pick 6 on the opening drive of the game for Woods Cross, giving them a lead. Woods Cross ends up going down 14-7, come back to take the lead. They were up 24-14 with just over 6 minutes left. Bountiful makes a change at quarterback. Max Barker comes in. He hooks up with Cornelius for a touchdown, and then the craziness ensues. Woods Cross could not run the clock out. Luke Hyde, the guys just could not quite get it done. End up punting it back to Bountiful, and get this, 4 seconds left after a penalty, unintentional ground penalty. Throw the ball up the sideline, pass interference with no time left in the clock. 1 untimed down from the 14-yard line, and it's Max Barker to Cornelius again, this time for the win with no time left. 26-24, Bountiful coming back to steal that one from Woods Cross.
You talk about steal. Look at the heartbreak on the field from the Woods Cross players. A game they could have had and would have loved to have had. My best of 5A, Dusty, look, there's a reason why we're in Lakerland. How about Bonneville, huh? Playing Viewmont last night, and this was a blast. We talked about Bountiful. They were one of my teams to keep an eye on this year. And they've lived up to that, and it's been an impressive year so far for the Lakers. This game was tied up, Dusty, at 27 apiece at the break.
You couldn't blink. If you blinked in this game, you missed a big play.
Who would have thunk? Viewmont and Bonneville going to be lighting up the scoreboards. It's a 17-0 second half for the Lakers to help distance themselves. Best had 3 passing touchdowns. Shaw had a 95-yard kickoff return. And, man, you talk about Schultz. What a night for him for Viewmont. 4 passing touchdowns, comes up on the losing end. The Bonneville Lakers, I was looking at this region last night, and our preview, I think I said, yeah, there's some separation from the top to the middle. There may be. It might be Bonneville at the top. They can win this Region 5, Dusty.
And Region 5 is very interesting.
Yeah.
And we had on every game in Region 5 yesterday on Deseret News Rewind. And it's going to be very interesting to watch it. The hard thing is, now hopefully this comes back. City, I think it is, one of the best players for Bonneville. He went down with an injury without being touched. It was just heartbreaking if it's as serious as you think it can be. Whenever you have those non-contact injuries and the guy immediately grabs his knee, you think the worst. Hopefully it's not. And hopefully you see him come back. But want to mention that because we've enjoyed watching him this year. Best of the rest. How about this one? You know how many points Kanab has surrendered in the last 3 games?
Well, I do.
Okay. How about the last 14 quarters? 0. Kanab has not allowed a score since week 2. Matter of fact, let's give you the name, shall we? Because this guy deserves something. Riley Carrillo of Rich lives on an island of population of 1. He's all by his lonesome. He's the only person to score 1 touchdown. The 1 score allowed was in the second quarter of week 2, the Rich Rebels. Mr. Carrillo. That's it. Kanab won 14-0 against Parowan. That's all.
You ready for a couple of other ideas about that game? Parowan only had 146 yards of total offense. 146 yards. I don't care who you're playing. That's impressive. Also, Parowan, Dusty, they hadn't been shut out in a game since 2016 until last week. Now back-to-back shutouts for the Rams. First time since 14 that's happened.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
But a good start here for Kanab. They got some big games coming up.
Yeah.
They're playing well.
They do. My best of the rest, Dusty, how about a streak, a 94-game streak that came to a close on Friday night? 94 games.
Nah. What's that?
Desert Hills got shut out. The Dixie Flyers, 13-0. We said this wasn't going to be the Dixie Desert Hills contest that we've seen in recent years. It wasn't. Barban had a passing touchdown, pair of field goals for Dixie. But the defense shut out the Thunder for the first time since 2011.
Wow.
What an effort by the Flyers. We see you, Dixie.
Yeah.
Congratulations on a big win.
Had them on Deseret News Rewind Live. Got to watch a good portion of that game. That was just a defensive battle.
Yeah.
They got it done.
Yeah.
Let's go to the quick hits brought to you by the Utah Army National Guard. If you're wanting to make the next step in your career and you don't know if you can financially take care of it, let the National Guard help you up to $20,000 in signing bonus.
Yeah, and over 150 different career path options available. A lot of people want to take that next step or maybe switch their job but don't know how they're going to get the experience. There's no better place than the Utah Army National Guard.
Go ahead and start.
All right, I will. How about Davis and Layton, Dusty? A big first half for the Darts. They scored 30 points in the first quarter, had 40 at halftime. Trujillo had 2 passing touchdowns, both of them dispute. Spencer Ferguson just continues to run for over 100 yards, averaged, I think, 12 yards a carry in this one as Davis all over the Layton Lancers, 40-7.
How about if you wear 2 numbers, you're still the same guy? Parker Buchanan, young man from Box Elder. I know my guy Ethan Fleming. I don't blame him.
Yeah, it happened to me too.
Switched
Friday
up
night,
jerseys, go from 16 to 84. Doesn't matter. Buchanan ran for a touchdown, threw a touchdown with 6:23 left to Trevin Johnson. And Patterson came back from Farmington. They looked much better than they had the last couple of weeks. But it's a 15-14 win, the Bees over the Phoenix.
How about a game that I have no idea what happened? The final score was 32-30. Cypress defeating Taylorsville. Have contrary reports on what happened in this one, so I can't really go into it. But Cypress with a nice region win over the Taylorsville Warriors.
Wasatch and Spanish Fork. I keep telling you, if you play against Spanish Fork, it's going to be close. This game was very close. Wasatch jumped out 16-0 in the first quarter, just for the Wasps to come back, take a 17-16 lead, and then a 10-point fourth quarter. It was Southland with the field goal, then Cooper Scott, a 5-yard pass from Darius Edwards. And on the night, it was Chris Cook with the 100 yards. Edwards threw for 129 as the Fighting Coburns fell short. Or pardon me, Fighting Coburns came back to take this one 26-17.
How about, this was an interesting one, and a team that I thought actually represented really well in a loss. And that's the Olympus Titans. We talked about it's been a little bit of a different year, what we've been accustomed to seeing from Olympus in recent weeks. They had this game tied up with Brighton at the half, 14 apiece. Mason Young had 2 rushing touchdowns. Curtis had a first quarter passing touchdown for the Bengals, who squeaked out a 21-14 win over the Titans.
You know, it's interesting. I'm bringing this game up simply because we're going to show these plays on top 5 plays. I want to show them on the big show too. Pineview winning 55-21 against Cedar City, but I wanted to highlight a couple of receivers. Dominic McKenzie and Christian Bailey, 2 of the better catches this side of DeAndre Randolph that you're going to see this year. But I mentioned in the show, Coach Croton has just got to love the guys he gets every year at Pineview. This offense is all over the place. As it was a big night for Braden Bundle, 29-41 for 384 yards, 4 touchdowns. And 2 of those went to Dominic McKenzie, who had 104 yards on the night. But a 55-21 win for the Panthers.
You know what's sad? When did 384 yards and 4 touchdowns become pedestrian?
When McLeod Croton was thrown for 600 yards?
Well, I was going to say when Region 4 decided to air the ball out, but that works too. Hey, how about another game in Region 6, Dusty? The Skyline Eagles.
Yeah.
Look, now I know the schedule is kind of backloaded, right? We're going to find out just how good Skyline is. But you have Bolingbroke, who is just tearing it up right now. 5 more passing touchdowns. in the win over Hillcrest on Friday night to 5 different receivers. He is eyeing, folks, the school record for career passing touchdowns and career passing yards. The rate he's going, those could, passing touchdowns likely be eclipsed in the regular season if you stay healthy. Yardage could be as well. How about this? First time Skyline is 5-0 since 2002. Congratulations, Eagles. And they've got a good one coming up. We keep alluding to it. We're going to see if we can get there in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, old school matchup.
Yeah.
Coming up pretty soon against Brighton. Here's an interesting one. I just want to go through this real quick. How do you follow up 9 touchdown passes? You throw 7. Maddox Matson threw 7 touchdowns. 3 of them to Fisher Ingersoll, 2 to Grimes, and then 1 apiece to Moyaki, and I'm trying to think off the top of my head. But Maddox Matson, Carbon County Connection, having another big night.
Wait, did you say Maddox only had 7 touchdowns?
That's it. After throwing 9.
That's not that impressive.
Yeah.
You know, McKay Hillstead had 8 total touchdowns for the Sky Ridge Falcons in their victory over Jordan. 6 through the air, 2 on the ground. Man, it would be fun to watch those 2 play, huh?
Friday night, folks.
Hint.
That is the game of the week. We'll just
Look
go
in
ahead
the
and say
chops.
It is the game of the week.
Yes, it
Dane
is.
Stewart will be there against his will, but he will be there.
I'm getting comfortable in Region 4, Dusty.
Welcome to my old world, man. How about this interesting one, too? South Summit and Payson. South Summit getting the win. Wildcats scored 20 points in the second quarter. And take it, it was Skylar Sudweeks tossing 3 touchdown passes, finding Soholk, I hope I say that right. Soholk for 2 of those, and Sanchez rushed for 2 touchdowns as South Summit got the big win against Payson.
How about a game in Region 8, Dusty, where maybe a team's starting to look a little more familiar to what we've been accustomed to. Springville with a 41-14 win over Provo. Rig Trip had 154 yards rushing, 3 rushing touchdowns. Delamas threw for over 200 yards and 3 touchdowns in the big win for the Red Devils. Big one
that we picked, and I think we were on opposite sides of this. How about Richfield making an absolute statement? 42-14 win over Manti. Wait for some of that stuff to come through, but a big, big night for the Wildcats.
How about Fry for Snow Canyon? Just had 1 incompletion, almost was perfect.
Yeah, 16-17.
Yeah, 235 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 rushing as well in the win for the Warriors.
Carbon was up 20-13 at one point, and then Union took care of business. So Union beat my Dinos. Juab shut out Emory. Nice win for the Wasps. And a beautiful field. I love the J.
Yeah, right?
That was awesome.
They even had the parachuter come in. Yeah, that was great. How about Ridgeline and Bear River? And a gritty game. Bear River had a 14-0 lead in the first quarter. A 24-0 run put on by the Riverhawks. Caden Cox had 4 passing touchdowns, 2 of them to Strat Simmons in the win.
Well, San Juan and Grantsville, Grantsville's continued to play really, really well. The Cowboys, this isn't just a 1 year from last year. San Juan's good. Yeah. They bump up into 3A. They have some issues, but look out for those Broncos. By the way, keep being nice to Miss Nielsen. I'm getting good reports back. But for Grantsville, it was a big night, 22-0 in the third quarter. Blake Thomas rushed for 3 touchdowns, leading Grantsville to the win.
You know, one of us has to represent Cache Valley, so Skyview Nation, here you go. You want to know how good Skyview is? They played Green Canyon and took care of business, 42-14 in the lopsided win. Isaac Larson had an 80-yard touchdown, receiving touchdown, also a 92-yard pick 6. I have a feeling those will be coming out in other Deseret News Rewind videos. They better, guys. And Carlson with 3 passing touchdowns.
I was going to make sure. I wasn't talking about Isaac Larson, remember, transferred from Logan. But he has been a gem to find. How about a gem? Salem Hills. We thought this game would be closer than it was for a moment. But then Jarrett Elmer got it going. Elmer had 4 total touchdowns, rushing for 2, throwing for 2, as Salem Hills ran away from Highland. The Road Warrior Highland Rams it might be a little more daunting than you think, even though it's high school and you're not a lot of travel, but it's still hard knowing you're just not having an easy afternoon, being at home, all that kind of stuff. But 41-10, the win for, or 43-10, pardon me, for Salem Hills over Highland.
Letdown alert? There's no letdown with the Kearns Cougars taking on Riverton, and the defensive Kearns showed up, had a pick 6, had a couple other interceptions in this game. Naki Leha, 3 rushing touchdowns, 1 receiving touchdown. Big win, 44-19 over Riverton.
I owe a young man a shout out. And I messaged him as much as, because in the video that we did in Top 5 Plays, I said that Maple Mountain's got Nelson, they've got Hall, they got Scioli. What am I doing? I'm forgetting about Thomas Waite.
Yeah.
Thomas Waite was the MVP pick that game from our friends at Spanish Fork TV. But Thomas Waite had another big night, rushing for 129 yards in a win over Murray.
How about Summit Academy? This is a team that just continues to go through the schedule, and they look mighty, mighty good. A solid victory over Timpanogos. Joe Garlick had 3 passing touchdowns. Case had 4 rushing touchdowns. Bailey with a nice pick 6 as the Bears get the job done Friday night.
Yeah. You got another one?
No, I think I'm good.
I think we're good too. But again, those are quick hits brought to you by the Utah Army National Guard. Hey, let's talk about a Riley Jensen Consulting Mental Toughness Moment of the Week. I know I highlighted it in the My Best of 6A, but we're going to show it again. How about PG down 29-21? Look, you can pack it in. It doesn't, this is just one of those nights, not going our way, whatever.
Non-region.
Yeah, and they had a lead and blew it, and you just start thinking, well, it's just not our night. Maybe we're not as good as we think we are. Sam Levitt and Darius Clemens thinking otherwise, getting that touchdown moments later. Rex Connors for 2, getting the win. That is your Riley Jensen Consulting Performance of the Week. Folks, we talked about it. We only bring on people that we trust and that we know. And Riley Jensen and his group of people that he's building, this is getting bigger and better. He's working with so many student athletes. If an athlete needs to be worked with and just help them with their sports performance, he's there for them. And if you need life coaching, just help getting life in order, Riley's there for you there too.
Man, I've heard him speak to young men, and the stories he tells and the associations he makes, it's going to help you in your life, whether it's business, athletics, whatever it might be, family. Check out RileyJensenConsulting.com and take advantage of one of the best.
Absolutely. You can go ahead and book your time with him right there on his website as well. All right, let's get to our Black Clover. Looking good performers of the week goes with teams and individuals. Dane, let's go first.
All right. Well, I got one, Dusty. Hey, we had a chance to see Mountain View last week and really impressed with the Bruins. And Caden Coons has been really impressive, but he wasn't suiting up Friday night, which meant that the load would fall on the sophomore quarterback, Jackson McCarty. And the sophomore came to play. Dusty, I think his first start this year, I don't know, Bruins fans, and Tony Jepson, correct me if I'm wrong, but he had 3 passing touchdowns in the win for Mountain View. Now, I know it was Uinta. Things don't get a lot easier for Mountain View as some big-time games coming up, Stansbury, Park City as well. I think Park City comes first, but some big games coming up for Mountain View. They'll look to get Coons back this year. This isn't anything ending, but Jackson McCarty, look, you're trying to keep your season alive. You're off to a good start in region. Got to get a big win. Sophomore quarterback comes up big. He's my looking good candidate of the week.
That's a good one. And I'm going to go back to what I talked about best of 5A, only because it led to a game-winning touchdown pass. But 2 guys that were not really, well, one, Barker didn't play until the second half. And for Cornelius, he caught 2 passes. But those 2 passes were the 2 touchdowns that led to the win. The second one being with no time left and a win for Bountiful. So I'm going Dane back-to-back weeks, and I'm going to give it to 2 guys, Max Barker and Brooks Cornelius, for the 2 touchdowns and the game winner against Woods Cross.
See what happens when you do something just once, folks? It becomes repetitive. Welcome to the dark side, Dusty.
I guess it's pretty dark. Again, look out for all of our videos coming out this weekend. We got our picks videos. If you want to beat us, pick against us, and if you beat us, we'll give you some love. And not only that, hit us up with your plays of the week. Remember, get those to us early on Saturdays, early as you can, or even Friday night. We can get those included so we don't miss them. There's only so many of us out there to pick those up. But help us out. Let us know at D News Rewind, at Dane_Stewart, at Dusty Litster. Again, our game of the week this week, not wasting any time. Skyridge AF, Deseret News Rewind game of the week. Dane Stewart will be there. It's going to be a good one. For Vince Francis and Dane Stewart, I'm Dusty Litster. Thanks for joining us and watching Deseret News Rewind on Deseret.com.